For some background, I'm a 24-year-old woman who just finished college about a month ago. Since then, I've been crashing at my dad and stepmom's place, strictly as a temporary setup until I can get on my feet. My dad knows exactly how I feel about my stepmother and that I have zero interest in living with her long-term. Thankfully, the feeling's mutual. Her name's Claudia Moreau, and honestly, she's never liked me either, which makes this arrangement barely tolerable for both of us. My mom passed away when I was 10, and my dad started seeing Claudia when I was around 18. By the time I hit 21, they were married. She was in her early 30s back then, yet she acted like she couldn't stand me from day one. I still don't understand what kind of grown woman decides to dislike a teenager for no reason, but that's exactly what Claudia did. Despite being older, she treated me like some kind of rival. I tried to be friendly at first, polite, respectful, the whole thing. But once it was clear that nothing I did mattered, I stopped trying and just ignored her. Living under the same roof wasn't easy. She always seemed to find some little thing to criticize. My clothes, my tone, the way I loaded the dishwasher. When I finally moved out for college, it felt like a relief. So, yeah, coming back home after graduation wasn't exactly exciting. I knew it would be uncomfortable, but until I land a job and can afford rent, I didn't have a choice. I accepted it for what it was. The problem is, Claudia seems to have gotten even worse since I've been back. When I'd visit during college, just a few days here and for holidays or weekends, we managed to coexist by staying out of each other's way. But this time, it's different. Now that I'm around she apparently can't handle it. Ever since I moved back in, it feels like she's made it her personal mission to get under my skin. We've been arguing constantly. And the weirdest part? The second my dad walks through the door, she transforms into world's best stepmom. Sweet voice, fake smile, the whole act. I know better than to tell my dad what's really going on, because she's so good at playing innocent that I'd end up looking like the crazy one. I didn't want to stoop to her level, so I kept my mouth shut, until she did something so insane that I couldn't ignore it anymore. That's how I ended up filing charges against her. And now, somehow, my dad thinks I'm the one who provoked her, that I shouldn't be making this a big deal. Honestly, I don't even know what to feel anymore. It all started about 6 days ago. My dad was at work, and I was busy applying for jobs online that morning when Claudia stormed into my room. She started yelling about how much laundry she supposedly had to do because of me, saying it was too much work and that I needed to start washing my own clothes from now. I sighed and rolled my eyes before agreeing, but that tiny reaction sent her off the rails. She started ranting that this was her house, and I needed to respect her rules. That's when I snapped and reminded her that it was my father's house, and that the only reason she was even there was because she'd found the richest man willing to put up with her and married him so she could sit at home doing nothing. Yeah, I know it was petty, but so was she. Things escalated fast. After some shouting, she finally stormed off, and I figured it was over. That evening, when my dad came home, Claudia suddenly started screaming about how one of her brand new designer bags, apparently worth $28,000, gone missing. She immediately accused me of stealing it. She said I was jobless and desperate and that she just knew I must have done it. I expected my dad to defend me, but instead he sided with her. He told me not to be defensive and to support her instead, since I had nothing to hide. That made me furious. Within minutes, she'd actually called the police. They searched the entire house, including my room, even my personal belongings. Everything was turned upside down, but of course, nothing was found. There was zero evidence I'd taken anything, so it was officially marked as stolen. Even though I was cleared, I felt completely humiliated. I packed a bag and left that night, crashing at a friend's place. My dad didn't stop me, didn't even try. That told me exactly where his loyalty was. 3 days later, I got a call from him. He was crying. Turns out, Claudia confessed, she had taken the bag herself and hidden it at a friend's house, planning to frame me. My dad found out when he came home early from work and overheard her on the phone with that same friend, bragging about how relieved she was that I'd finally moved out. He confronted her, and that's when she broke down and admitted everything. He apologized over and over, said he felt awful, and told me they weren't speaking anymore. He wanted me to come home so he could apologize in person, but I told him there was no chance I'd return, at least not anytime soon. I also told him that now that I knew the truth, I was going to press charges against Claudia for trying to frame me. He panicked and begged me not to, said he wanted to handle it as a family, that involving the police would destroy everything beyond repair. But honestly, I don't care anymore. What she did wasn't just cruel, it was dangerous. She tried to ruin my life, and I refused to let her get away with it. Something about Claudia just isn't right. And honestly, if my dad still can't see that, and he expects me to just work things out with her, then maybe something's off with him too. The only reason I'm hesitating right now is because my friend, the one I've been staying with, told me I should think twice before pressing charges. She said that if I go through with it, I might as well kiss any chance of reconciling with my dad goodbye. He's clearly in love with Claudia. for reasons I'll never understand. And if I take legal action against her, he'll probably never forgive me. She reminded me of how much he's done for me over the years. After my mom died, he raised me completely on his own. Nobody in the family helped. Not financially, not emotionally. He sacrificed a lot to make sure I had a decent life, and my friend just wanted me to remember that before I made a decision I couldn't undo. That's what's been keeping me stuck. I know deep down that I'm not wrong for wanting to hold Claudia accountable, but the thought of hurting my father kills me. For context, since a few people asked, my dad's around 50, and Claudia's 39. They've got about an 11-year age gap. She used to have a job when they first met, but she quit right after the wedding. That's why I made that comment earlier about her marrying rich so she could stay home. I wasn't lying or exaggerating. I know exactly the kind of woman she is. Even if my dad refuses to see it, I do. And if I could go back in time, I'd warn him about her before he ever said, I do. Update 1. I've made up my mind. I'm pressing charges against Claudia. Whatever bond I have left with my father can't outweigh what's right. I love him. I respect everything he's done for me. But that doesn't mean I'll let this slide. What she did wasn't just petty. It was calculated and dangerous. And I honestly think, deep down, he knew this was coming. After all, he was the one who called and told me the truth. If he didn't want me to act on it, he shouldn't have involved me in the first place. Now he's regretting it because he feels responsible for what comes next. But that's not my problem anymore. Claudia dug this hole herself, and now she's going to have to live with the consequences. I've already talked to a couple of friends and found a solid lawyer. It'll cost me, sure, but it's worth it. I still have some money my mom left me, a small inheritance I'd planned to save for emergencies. But this feels like the right moment to use it. Plus, I've been interviewing with a company that seems promising, and if everything works out, I'll start next month. They pay well and I'll be fine financially. So yes, I'm suing Claudia for malicious prosecution. If I win, she'll have to pay damages. If she decides to settle outside of court, I'm fine with that too. All I want is for her to understand that she lost. Some people might say this sounds vindictive or over the top, but I don't care. This is about standing up for myself. She tried to destroy me, and I'm not letting her get away with it. Update 2. It's been 3 weeks since I last spoke to my dad. He's tried reaching out, called several times, sent messages, but I haven't answered. I know he'd just try to talk me out of this, and I can't handle that conversation. I need to stay focused on what's right, not what's easy. The legal process is already moving. I met with my lawyer, filled out all the paperwork, and 3 days ago, Claudia was officially served. That same night, my phone blew up. My dad called non-stop and left a bunch of texts saying he was heartbroken and furious that I'd gone this far. He told me I was being selfish, immature, and that he didn't raise me to be this way. I finally replied after hours of silence. I told him that he did raise me well, that he taught me to stand up for myself, and to never let anyone treat me like garbage. That's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm following his lessons, just not in the way he wants. I reminded him that I'm not his little girl anymore. I'm an adult. I can make my own choices, even if they make him uncomfortable. And as for forgiveness? No, Claudia never apologized. Not once. She had every chance to reach out, to show even a shred of remorse, but she didn't. Instead, she stayed quiet because she knows my father will defend her no matter what. So no, I won't forgive her. Not out of spite, but because she doesn't deserve it. Forgiveness is for people who take responsibility, and she hasn't. If my dad can't understand that, then maybe he's not the man I thought he was. Even after everything that happened, my dad kept standing by Claudia, and honestly, that broke my heart more than anything else. If he truly wanted this to end peacefully, without lawyers, without courtrooms, he could have just sat her down and talked some sense into her. That's what should have happened from the start. Because let's be real, this entire mess was her fault, and he knew it. He even admitted that much to me. If he hadn't accidentally overheard her bragging on the phone, he would have never found out the truth. She sure as hell wasn't going to confess on her own. She only got caught because she was careless enough to be loud. And honestly, that's the only reason my dad finally realized I was innocent. If he hadn't walked in at that exact moment, I probably would have been dragged through a full investigation over something I didn't do. Claudia wanted me gone, out of their house, out of their lives, and she almost got what she wanted. Yet my dad still thinks I should forgive her and pretend it never happened. That makes no sense to me. If the roles were reversed, if someone did this to him, he'd never be this calm about it. If he truly wanted to fix things, he could have at least told her to apologize. I would have listened. Maybe I would have even considered forgiving her, but instead he's been pushing me to let it go, acting like I'm the one making a scene. It's ridiculous. He's completely biased now. I used to be his priority, but that time's clearly over. These days, everything revolves around Claudia, what she wants, what makes her happy. My feelings don't even make the list. It hurts. I wish he could see how much it hurts. So, I texted him everything every thought, every truth I'd been holding back. He never replied. I guess he couldn't, because deep down he knows I was right. Every word I said hit too close to home. At least I finally said my piece. If he still doesn't get it, that's on him. I'm done backing down. Claudia deserves every consequence that's coming to her. What she did wasn't just cruel. It was insane. I'm just grateful she got caught before things got even worse. Update 3. Hey everyone. Sorry it's been a while since my last update. Life's been busy, but in a good way. I landed a job and I recently moved into my own apartment. It feels incredible. Having my own space, paying my own bills, spending my own money. I can't even describe the sense of freedom. It's new, it's scary, but it feels right. Anyway, I know what you really want to hear. What happened with my dad and Claudia. After I filed the complaint, Claudia lawyered up within days. She reached out through her attorney, saying she wanted to settle out of court. And honestly, as much as I wanted to drag this out and make them both squirm, I had to be realistic. Legal fees aren't cheap, and I wasn't looking to go broke proving a point. So, I agreed to settle. Long story short, I walked away with $33,000, $5,000 more than the cost of her so-called designer bag. On top of that, she got slapped with community service since she had filed a false police report. Because it was her first offense, she basically got off easy. Though if I'm being honest, I doubt she even felt the sting. I'm pretty sure the settlement money came from my dad, not her. Claudia's never had that kind of cash. Even that expensive bag had been a birthday. Still, I got something out of it, and that was enough for me. Closure, justice, whatever you want to call it. I needed it. It's been a few months since all that went down, and my dad and I still haven't talked. We haven't blocked each other, so technically either of us could reach out, but we don't. The last thing I ever said to him was what I wrote in my previous update, where I called him out for enabling her, and he never responded. And that silence? It says everything. It's quiet now, peaceful in a way, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss him. Even after he married Claudia and I went off to college, we always kept in touch. He was a huge part of my life for so long, and it's strange trying to accept that things might never go back to how they were. Even if we do reconcile one day, it'll never be the same. Something in that bond has cracked for good, and I don't think it can ever be fixed. Update 4. Hey again. It's been about 1.5 years since my dad and I last spoke. I honestly have no idea what he's doing these days. The only time I hear about him is through relatives at family gatherings, but he doesn't even show up to those anymore. He's always been kind of distant from everyone, so it's not surprising that he's keeping to himself now. As for me, I still show up to family events here and there, not because I'm close to them, but out of basic courtesy. I keep things polite, even though I don't feel particularly connected, but I'll admit, sometimes the loneliness creeps in. Cutting ties with my dad left a bigger hole than I expected. Friends and coworkers help, but there's only so much it can fill. Some nights, the quiet feels heavier than I'd like to admit. From what I've heard, my dad and Claudia are still together, and apparently doing fine. Lately, they've even been talking about adoption. I found out about it a week ago at my cousin's wedding, and honestly, it blindsided me. I didn't even know how to react. That night, got home, I ended up crying for the first time in a long while, just sitting there, thinking about my dad and everything that's happened between us. I guess it makes sense. They're trying to move on, build a life together, but deep down, I think I always wanted my father to choose me, his daughter, over her. Maybe that sounds childish, but it's the truth. And as petty as it might sound, I can't help but hope they never get approved for adoption. Claudia is not fit to be a mother. I don't understand how my dad could even consider raising a child with her after everything she's done. She was always jealous of me. That's why she tried to push me out of his life completely. That's why she went to such extremes. And even after everything, my dad still chose to forgive her and try to rebuild what they had, instead of trying to understand my side. Thinking about him still fills me with anger and sadness, so most of the time I try not to, but it doesn't really help. The hurt doesn't disappear just because you stop talking about it. That news about the adoption messed me up for a few days, but now that some time's passed, I can feel it in my gut. They won't go through with it. I don't know why, but I just have this strong sense that it won't work out. It's not that I wish him misery. I don't. I just can't pretend to root for something that feels so wrong. Eventually, he's going to realize how empty his relationship with Claudia really is, and when that moment comes, it'll be too late to fix what he broke with everyone else. He made his choices, and now he has to live with them. So, whatever. Update 5. Hi everyone. I honestly didn't think I'd be back here after all this time, but here we are. A lot has changed in the past 4 years, and the biggest update? I'm getting married. My fiancé and I have been together for 4 years now. Back when I posted my last update, we had just started seeing each other. It began as something casual, but it grew into something real, something steady. We've lived together for 2 years now, and last week he proposed. I said yes, of course. I shared the news online, and my notifications exploded with messages and congratulations. I was thrilled, but then I saw one name I didn't expect, my dad. It had been 5 years since we last spoke. His message was short, just a warm congratulations, but seeing it hit me like a wave. I wasn't sure what to feel. I'd already heard from a few relatives that he and Claudia had separated after hitting a rough patch. Word was he'd started drinking, which didn't shock me entirely. My grandfather struggled with the same thing late in life. Still, I never imagined my dad, of all people, would end up following that same path. I'd thought about reaching out to him so many times. I missed him. God, I missed him. But then I'd remember how he chose Claudia over me, and I'd stop myself every time. This time, though, I decided to reply. I thanked him for the message, kept it polite, nothing more. A day later, he wrote back. He said he'd been wanting to contact me for years, but didn't know how. He told me he spent the last 5 years realizing I was right about everything, that he'd been selfish, blind, and weak, that he's been paying the price ever since. He said he and Claudia are in the middle of a divorce. Because she hasn't worked in years, he's stuck paying alimony until she either remarries or gives up the support. He told me things between them had been falling apart for a long time, and that he'd never been able to forgive her for what she did to me, or himself for letting it happen. Apparently, the final straw came when she started pushing to adopt again. He admitted he refused because it felt like she was trying to replace me. They fought about it, and that fight was what finally ended them. He ended his message by congratulating me again, saying he was proud of me, that he was sorry for everything, and that he hoped someday I could forgive him. Reading that, it broke me. I cried for hours. That evening I decided to visit him. My fiancé, Lucas Meyer, came with me. When we got there, I was shocked by how different everything looked. The house was messy, unkept, nothing like the place I grew up in. My dad looked older, tired, and fragile. But when he saw me, his face lit up. We hugged, and both of us started crying. We didn't talk much about the past, and we didn't make any promises about the future. But we both agreed on one thing. We wanted to start over. It won't be easy. There's a lot of pain between us, a lot of things that can't be erased. But if we're both willing to try, maybe, just maybe, it's possible to rebuild something. And with Claudia gone for good, I actually think it might work this time. It took years and a lot of heartache, but he finally came around. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, things are looking up for both of us.